Relationships aren't static. They're fluid. They can move and change and grow. Certainly when you begin to change, certainly when you create a different awareness, a different understanding inside of you, then your relationships completely transform. And that's what we were looking at today in the session with Nadine. If you don't know me already, my name is Andrea and I'm a love and relationship coach. And these series of videos, you'll see Nadine reflecting honestly from her authentic place, her real experience as she goes on this healing process, this healing journey with me. Today what came up for Nadine was her relationship with her sister, her twin sister. They're very close, but what Nadine has come to realise as she's grown, as she's become more aware, she's come to see how she was relating back when she was a child, as a teenager also, and as a young adult. Because Nadine was no longer shutting down or suppressing her feelings in the sessions together, there's space for them to just come up and let's look at that. Let's see what's really going on. And she could see that there were some things that she wasn't okay with, some things that she did in her past that she just didn't feel good about in her own behaviour. If you've watched the other videos, you would have seen how Nadine would see her body, and she suffered from something called body dysmorphic disorder, and she was very preoccupied with that as in her teen years and as a young adult, and she struggled really to connect with people and to connect with those who were close to her in a kind and loving way. Anyone who's been through their teens I'm sure knows how emotional it can be as you feel these surge of hormones coursing through your body. For Nadine, she felt a lot of anxiety, was feeling angry, had a lot of emotional turmoil going on. She was very turbulent, and she'd project that onto those who were really dear and close to her. And obviously that's not how she wants to be now, today, as an adult. So as she spent time reflecting back on her teenage years, she came to see that there were just some things that she now didn't feel happy about in the way that she was behaving, in particular on this occasion towards her sister. So now that she could be much more kind and loving and can see that, okay, I wasn't okay with what I did then, it's time for me to make amends. And that's really what we were looking at today, is how could she make amends with herself first, because that's really key. That's just so important, forgiving yourself instead of judging yourself harshly. And when she could really center herself in that and drop into that, then she could really create these amazing relationships. So continue watching the video and you'll see Nadine share her experience of what that's like for her and how to go about it.
So, just this moment, arrived back home from tonight's session that I had, where the focus was on kind of me getting on track again with like getting my head around making amends, like the concept of making amends and the real intention behind it, and what is the right approach and the right kind of intention to for making amends, especially when I intend on like communicating this to someone, to acknowledge because of all the changes that I've gone through, and being at a point now where I'm able to look back and recognize, like in a different way than I was able to, or really have never kind of before now, in the past couple of weeks, I've never really been in the right kind of place to look back and say, okay, what, wow, did I really do that? Did I really behave that way? And to be able to then, let somebody know, or just figure out for myself, how do I come to terms with the fact that I used to be a certain way, now that I am so different, and really just to delve a little bit deeper into the amends, like what does that even mean? And I've made a couple of attempts writing letters to people that I've felt this desire to make amends to whoever, and and then I've gone in one case, I've posted out a letter that's been received, and then I've had to question how really should that be for me before I decide to communicate that to someone, because something that is important, and this is something that comes up in the 12-step programs, is this step, I don't know which step it is, but so you make amends and to a person, unless to do so would cause significant upset, something along those lines. Paraphrasing, I don't know exactly how it is worded, but so I've sent out this letter, with the intention of making amends, and it's been received, and it's it's made me wonder what place was I coming from, what was I really wanting, and however the reaction has been, and potentially could be with other people that I feel I need to make amends to, can I be okay with it, and what does it take for me to be okay, and just to feel that there's something complete about my part in the amends making process, to the extent that however the person receives it or reacts, or whatever it for me to be okay with it, and just to let them, and just be absolutely okay, and just be like, I get it, just that's it, so okay. This is, I'm recording this video directly after this session. I and as I'm sure I've mentioned before, something that that the kind of mindset that I'm in directly after a session is kind of foggy, kind of like lots and lots of things, crop up and like buzz around in my head and that kind of thing. So again, there's no guarantee that the content of these videos is will be kind of coherent and make sense. So and especially for something like this, where can I be okay? Can I be okay with it? I often in my life, in fact, throughout my entire life, I've been very hard on myself, and I beat myself up a lot about, that feeling that I'm not getting it right, and that I've done things that I'm ashamed of, and I feel bad, and I feel like a bad person. And to come from that place when you're trying to make amends takes away from what it should really be, where the emphasis should really be. I I realise now that I've gone into letter writing, in a kind of like an apology, and to acknowledge my responsibility in, like the way I behaved that may have been hurtful to another person who's close to me. And what I realised today and, kind of yesterday and, after sending the letter was, what I was wanting was to be forgiven, and to feel really essentially that I'm a good person, and for the person that I wrote to react in a way that would, create that feeling for me of like, absolution or like redemption or something. And yeah, so after today's session, what I'm realizing is that's not the right way to go about it. And in fact, to make amends, what it means is for me as an individual to feel that there's some kind of completion, or, should I write the letter and never send it, that I can be okay with it, and that regardless of whether or not the person it's intended for ever really reads it, the most important part of it all is that I've acknowledged it for myself, and I can see that there are like huge changes in the way that I behave now compared to before, and that I prefer another way and not to repeat past behaviour. And yeah, so it's hard because it's hard for me to wrap my head around the fact that nobody else can provide that feeling for you truly. And if I require that from someone else or externally, it means that I've not achieved the true goal of making amends, like for myself. And there is this whole process, all the stuff that has gone on throughout the time that I've been having the sessions with Andrea and doing this deep emotional work. It always comes back round to, this is for you to see for yourself. This is for you to give to yourself. And for you to stop needing certain things from other people and learning how to create that for yourself. That's a very strong, consistent feature or theme of the work. It's like, how can I take responsibility, full responsibility, and to let that really sink in and absorb in deep inside me, to the extent that when I think about how I behaved in the past towards Tom, Dick, Harry, can I be okay? Can I know truly in myself that my preference now is to stick to the road that I'm going on, where I'm moving towards something better and healthier and happier and more fulfilling for myself in my life, like the mindset, the attitude, where I am emotionally much more stable, like mentally I'm able to be more grounded. These aren't easy things for me to acknowledge, and I'm not constantly in that mindset where I think, I'm capable of acknowledging, okay, I've come really far, I've done all these wonderful things, Oftentimes, and in the past couple of days, I've been very topsy-turvy, wondering, am I doing the right thing? Have I caused some upset in my attempt to make amends? Have I gone about it the right way? And thinking, no, I didn't. Oh, what was my true intention? When I think about what I wrote and how it may have come across, and that when I think, oh my goodness me, have I just done some more damage? When really I'm trying to do the opposite, and I'm starting to panic and this kind of thing, and I'm completely losing all like a sense of how far I've come. And I feel like, no, I've taken a few steps back actually, and I'm not, I've just become like really, unraveled by not feeling that I've done something in the best way that I could have done. But then, because of the session today, I've been able to find that again, be able to, how do I forgive myself? How do I forgive myself and not require that from someone else? And so what did come up was, okay, if I'm writing an amends letter, or I have the intention of sending an email or making a phone call, or even just in my diary, for someone, but not to send to them, but just for me to kind of get it out there and get it down, and in a nice way, and in a way that feels good and complete. How can I do it in a way that doesn't ask them to forgive me and doesn't put any guilty feeling or any like responsibility with the other one? So it's a very delicate thing, and that's not something that I was truly able to appreciate until today. And I have written another letter for another person, and this is something that Andrea did guide me through very closely, whereas with this first one, the level of intensity and kind of focusing in and redrafting it and doing it again, that wasn't there. It was a much quicker process, and as much as I felt that my intention was good and right, and that it had come together well, and it was worded well, and I got my point across, and I'd said everything I needed to say in the right way, in comparison to the second letter for someone else, I realised that it's a very different thing that is required. And so even now it's kind of, it's a lot to take on board. So I mean, I am still coming out of my zone that I go into during the session, which is where all different things come up. And today in particular, I was feeling some anger towards myself. I was feeling like kind of beat myself up a little bit about not getting it right, and thinking, oh God, what have I done now? Have I done something else? And so the big learning, the valuable, like one of the most valuable things that I got out of today's session was to really admit to myself that I'm hard on myself, like really hard. And in this journey and in all these sessions and coaching, what I am doing is just my best that I can in the moment. And I'm, and that's what I'm doing. And so I need to learn how not to be so hard on myself, and how not to use like my perceived failures, or what I perceive to be, could have done that differently, could have done that better, shouldn't have done it that way, what a mistake, I regret that. Not to use those thoughts as a weapon against myself, which is something that I have had a very strong tendency to do. throughout the course of my life, and I may well have just repeated myself several times. And again, I'm fresh out of the session, and my cognitive functions are still just kind of getting themselves back together into some kind of in a way that I can speak coherently. So what I really took of value from the session was how can I remain kind to myself? Let that be the place that I write my amends from, not from a place of feeling guilty and bad and wanting someone else to say, okay, I forgive you, okay, I understand, thank you, you're free now, you'll be at peace, but to find the peace already, to first have that thought, to first say to myself, okay, I feel that I can, that there's some completion here compared to how I used to be and how I am now. This is a celebration of my huge changes, and I'm sharing that with whoever it is, as a way to express my, an acknowledgement that I behave this way. I prefer to behave differently now, and I'm not the person that I was, and I feel so pleased and so happy that during the time that we were in each other's company, or the time that we spent together in the past, I'm so grateful for the fact that you were alongside me, and you were a support to me, and you did listen to me, and you heard, you heard what I had to say, and you were really great. You were really great, and I can truly see that through different eyes, and from a different place emotionally than I was able to before, and that's the place that I really want to come from. When I'm making my amends, and not from that place of feeling bad and feeling guilty and I'm terrible and a bad person, and I'm going to hell unless I get this off my chest to you, and you kind of take it on board and it becomes your thing for you to kind of deal with. No, I want it to be like a release, a liberating thing, and above all, an acknowledgement of some achievement, and an acknowledgement and expression of gratitude to that person for being my friend, or being someone who was beside me and supporting me when I needed it, and to thank them, and to really express just my joy at now being able to recognize that I may have behaved in a way that wasn't good, and it wasn't healthy for me. It wasn't healthy for people around me, and to say now I prefer something different. I prefer to behave in a kinder, softer way, to communicate more honestly, to connect more deeply and more authentically to how I feel, so that when I am feeling unhinged or unstable or whatever it is, from now and going forward into the future, that I separate that from whoever is around me and whatever is in my environment, and I make sure that it's an internal process, and it's about me, and it has nothing to do with anyone else. And this is it's a lesson for me. It's a very important thing for me to continue to remind myself of. All the better that I get to record it in this video, so I can even watch it back and just and listen back to these words that are coming out fresh from the session, And, you know, if I do lose sight of what the purpose of the making amends really is and what it truly means, that I can, you know, that I can just make it about me, appreciation, gratitude for whoever it is that has been in my life, and just a strong desire for us to continue to enjoy each other's company and to continue to have each other as a support, and how happy I am that I'm making these wonderful changes and getting this new awareness and being able to see things much more clearly than I really ever have been able to before in the past. So that's what's important. Now that's what I'm able to express from the session that's to do with making amends. And yeah, so just really excited to be able to let this absorb, let the you know, the sediment kind of settle a little bit, and for any other kind of, you know, residual kind of things that might not be conducive to the best possible making of amends, to kind of allow that to fall away gradually, all the stuff to do with guilt and being absolved and putting it in someone else's hands to kind of to pass the responsibility onto someone else, and just to really, okay, what truly it means to make amends. And it is so much more than I originally understood it to be. So I'm glad now to have this new understanding based on the session that we had today. So yeah, it feels good.
From this new place, Nadine could see perhaps how her behaviour might have impacted on those close to her. Now, this is a really, really big deal. To go back and to look at your behaviour and think, actually, with the person that I am today, that's not okay. So today we looked at making amends. Now, if you've done any of the 12-step programs, there is a step about making amends, and it's something that Nadine wanted to do. She wanted to make it right within her. She wanted to forgive herself for the things that she'd done, because also she was judging herself quite harshly for the things that she'd done, and that's not what I want her to do. I want her to be able to show kindness and love towards herself. That's where it all begins. Kindness and love towards yourself first, and when you can do that, then you can extend that kindness and that love towards others. And isn't that what we want? We want to be close to people, we want to connect with people, we want to love, we want to bond, we want to feel together. And it's vital, it's crucial that you show kindness and love towards yourself first. Fill up your pot and let that overflow and extend to others. And through these sessions, Nadine's been more able to do that, and she's creating these amazing relationships with her family and with friends and with the community around her. And if you want to think about this, is there someone in your past that you feel that you need to make amends to? Just think about it for a moment and reflect on that. Not to judge yourself harshly. I always ask yourself to be kind and loving towards yourself, and still ask, is there someone that you feel that you need to make amends to?